Right, should we get started?
Let's get started, Mac.
Awesome. So firstly, just want to say thank you for everyone joining us today. Very excited to share this the launch of the Airwallex and WorkflowMax integration. It's something that we've been working on for quite a while now, 12 months or so. But yeah, I think it's very exciting, at least for WorkflowMax as a product. I think this is something that some customers have been wanting, I guess, for years, to be able to use payment links on invoices in WorkflowMax. So very keen to unpack that a little bit further. But perhaps let's just start with some intros, shall we?
Let's do it. Hi, everyone. My name's Andrew, and I lead ecosystem and integrated partnerships here at Airwallex for NZ. And yeah, super stoked to help and tag team with Matt today to present to you guys the integration that we've been working hard over the past few months for.
Awesome. And yeah, thanks for introducing. So I'm Mac, product manager here at WorkflowMax, based in Melbourne, Australia, both based here. So yeah, very excited to share this with you. Obviously, it's something that we've mentioned a couple of times, I think, for those of you that have been following along in our fortnightly product update videos. I know some people have sort of registered in the beta already and perhaps gotten some early access, but yeah, very excited to share this with you as the first step in what's going to be hopefully a very successful partnership and offering great features to both of our customers. So in terms of agenda for today, I think we'll kick off. Andrew, perhaps get you to take everyone through a little bit about Airwallex for those that perhaps aren't as familiar with it, and maybe some of the services that you offer and how that's going to relate to WorkflowMax. Then I'll run through a live demo showing how to set up the WorkflowMax integration with Airwallex in your WorkflowMax account and how that works. And then we'll set aside some time to run through Q&A, and then of course wrap up with next steps for those of you that are keen to dive in and start using it in your accounts.
Awesome. Let's get stuck into it. About Airwallex. Thanks, Mac. So I thought I'd share and start off with this slide where it really shows Airwallex's vision. Really it's to build the best financial infrastructure to support businesses in scaling globally and locally, and really being that business account or end-to-end business account solution for businesses of all sizes. So again, next slide. Now, before I kind of get into what we actually do, I thought I'd give a bit more background and some kind of stats and some logos to help illustrate us as a business. So we were founded in 2015, right here in Melbourne, Australia. And since then, we've grown to a $5 billion valuation company. Actually, right now, and just in September, we crossed the $100 billion mark in terms of process volume. That's something that we're super proud of from an annualized scale. And then, on the third piece there, we have about 1,800 employees in 19 offices globally. On the right-hand side, you'll see we're licensed around the world. We're financial licensed, UK, Australia, US, and whatnot. We partner with major financial institutions such as Visa, MasterCard, JP Morgan, ANZ here in Australia. We're backed by pretty notable investors, and we're trusted by about 40,000 businesses, or more than 40,000 businesses each month. You'll see some familiar logos like Qantas, July, and Xero down at that bottom right.
Okay, awesome. I think too, I love the history of Airwallex, the story of where it began. I mean, obviously it's not, I guess, the purpose of today, but do you want to give a quick just spiel, maybe engage a few people to go look after at the story of Airwallex?
Yeah. I mean, you can do a quick Google search and you'll be able to kind of find a bit more information. But it all started off as our founder, Jack, he ran a coffee business with the other co-founders, and what they found was buying coffee internationally was very challenging. There was a bunch of FX fees, and it wasn't a straightforward process. Making payments internationally was super complex. And that's really the genesis of Airwallex. And, we've come a long way since, solving that FX and payment solution to now, I think as we segue into what Airwallex does, we do a lot more for businesses.
And I think, there's a nice synergy there where you come from and sort of what the WorkflowMax product and brand stands for. We're all about empowering small and medium businesses to make day-to-day operations easier. And that's, I guess, what you set out to achieve a few years back. Obviously, it's grown into a little bit more than that now with some of these numbers on screen. But Yeah, as you said, that's probably a nice segue into everything you do now, because it's obviously evolved a bit.
Yep, no, spot on. Now we have this slide, and don't be too overwhelmed. I thought I'd put this up just to help show and articulate or illustrate Airwallex and our product breadth. So first thing I'd like to highlight is we typically separate our product suite in kind of three buckets. The first bucket being collecting funds, managing your funds, and then spending that. And so in the collection side of things, we have our global accounts product. So that's creating multi-currency accounts with local bank details in a matter of a few seconds. And so you could spin up a USD account for a US client, just like that. On the second piece, it's online payments, and this is really our payment gateway solution. Accept payments globally or even locally from your website, and settle in right into your Airwallex wallet. And then the third one over there is payment links in our plugins. And so this is really embedding unique payment links via invoice, email, SMS, sending out to your customers for them to be able to pay via card or whatnot, or local payment methods. And then also we have our plugins, with popular e-commerce software like Shopify, WorkflowMax, and the likes. Now, as we get to the middle section, that's managing your funds, and that's really, again, with that FX product there, really born from the initial pain point our founder kind of saw. So, you can hold multiple different currencies in your wallet and also convert them into different currencies as and when you need it. Supplementing onto the manage your funds piece is really a new product that we've launched quite recently called Yield, and that's where businesses can hold or earn a rate of return on funds held in our Airwallex Yield product for USD and AUD. Now, this product's only for Australia right now, but we're looking to launch this globally very soon. And then last but not least, we have the spend. And so spend really encompasses transfers, and that's making domestic and international payouts, leveraging the local rails, which is very fast and extremely cost efficient for businesses. You want to pay for your coffee supplier, you can do it like that now. Second piece is our Borderless Cards product, and that's very much our card issuing powered by Visa. So these are Visa debit cards that you can give your team, great preset spending limits. It's great to empower your team to spend or even allocate specific SaaS expenditure on your virtual cards for that. They're natively multi-currency, there's no international transaction fees, really flexible to use. And then expenses is really our inbuilt expense management tool that supplements our cards product. So Mac, you could get an Airwallex card. You could go to a coffee shop, you could spend the coffee on a client meeting, take a picture of that receipt, upload it to your Airwallex app, and then that all syncs directly into your accounting software, so the likes of Xero, NetSuite, or QuickBooks. So super seamless, helps you keep track of a whole bunch of things, and there's layers of approval workflows that you can add to that.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, imagine if there was a world where that might sync to WorkflowMax one day. That'd be pretty exciting, wouldn't it?
Very, very exciting. And then the last piece there is our bill pay product. This is, again, a relatively new product, helps businesses upload invoices to the Airwallex platform, OCR technology to kind of record the specific details on that, and run it through your AP process or your account payables approval workflows, make that payment, again, fully reconciled into your accounting software like Xero, NetSuite, QuickBooks, and then maybe WorkflowMax.
Yeah, awesome. On track. And look, there's obviously a lot there in terms of what you offer. Let's say I'm a smaller coffee shop and I don't need to buy my beans from overseas necessarily. Can I mix and match what I want to use? Do I have to be in multi-currency, or can I just be, if I'm in Australia, just using AUD, for instance? What's the sort of flexibility look like in the platform?
Yeah, it's super flexible. And what we found is we do have a great portion of businesses using our products end to end, but we see a good amount of businesses that also, they might only need to use it in the context of a coffee business. They might do some local wholesaling and they might just use our payment links. And they might want to empower their store managers to, make, instead of a petty cash system, they can have an Airwallex card for a dedicated budget to that, to make specific expenses, all kind of reconcile into their accounting software. They don't have to touch the FX piece. And then, they could also use bill pay to make any local payments and make sure they're on top of their accounts payable process. But yeah,
awesome. So you can start small and grow into it as your business evolves.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, that's great to get an overview, but I think obviously today we're here to talk about payment links more directly and how that relates to WorkflowMax. So perhaps let's dive in there, shall we? So we've got this slide that speaks to, I guess, the value proposition around why you might want to use the Airwallex and WorkflowMax integration. I think, a couple of the questions we've had from customers to date has just been around, we're using the Stripe payment links in Xero, for instance. Obviously, a lot of WorkflowMax customers are integrated with Xero. So, we really wanted to just, I guess, spend a little bit of time stepping through how the integration as it stands to date is probably a little bit different to what's available currently, but also give you a flavour of what's to come in the future as well. Because as I said at the start of this presentation, it's only very early days in the Airwallex and WorkflowMax partnership. So perhaps, do you want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off, and great point, Mac, and thanks for flagging that really early on. I think as I run through this, the one thing I want to highlight is, put it in context in terms of some of you guys might already be using alternative methods, and how we kind of compare and how this integration kind of looks against that. But number one really is streamlining workflows. That's really the core part of things, and really to help simplify your invoicing process. So with this integration, you can create and send unlimited invoices, all with payment links attached to them, right from the WorkflowMax platform. So you don't have to go out to Xero or whatnot to kind of configure anything else. You can do that wholly natively within your WorkflowMax environment. And then no more relying on your account or finance team. You can tailor invoices to reflect your brand, and you can record payments immediately. So if you set out a payment link and a customer put in a deposit, you'll get that notification pretty instantaneous, and then you'll see that reflected in your WorkflowMax platform to then act accordingly of that. The second piece there is really that competitive pricing to suit businesses of all sizes. So for Australia specifically, we're 10 bips more competitive than Stripe and Xero, and what that means is right now the default rate with Stripe and Xero that you might get is 1.75% in Australia, and 3.5% in Australia is all for international payments. And Airwallex were priced at 1.65% and 3.4% respectively for domestic and international. And of course, as we look to launch this product outside of Australia to the likes of New Zealand and UK, pricing will adjust it based on that those regions in a very competitive way. And then on kind of that second piece there, I'd like to highlight in terms of the selling in multiple currencies and avoiding double FX conversions. What that means, and this is coming soon as we look to unlock multi-currency within the WorkflowMax environment, but really leans into Airwallex's global value proposition a lot more. So what that means is, as an Australian business, I can send an invoice, say, to a client in the US. Now that US client might pay me in USD. I can now then settle that USD that they pay directly into my Airwallex account, hold that USD, and then convert it to whatever currency I want, as and when I wish. As opposed to right now, where if they do send out invoice with Stripe, for example, that gets auto converted from USD to Australian dollars, and so you get hit with that kind of high Aussie dollar there, or that high conversion fee there.
Yeah, and I guess then the potential for double whammy as well, right? If you're sort of collecting it from USD, but then you've got USD expenses. Exactly. Convert it twice rather than just keeping it there, and saving on that double exchange. So yeah, that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to launching that next year, but we'll come to that. I don't want to steal that yet, so I'll leave it up to you. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the third one I wanted to call out is really that locally based product and locally based solutions team. So I mean, we're founded here in Melbourne, Australia, so we have a strong kind of local Australian support team, and we love any direct feedback, and we'll have channels available for customers to kind of provide that. And as Mac has alluded to, we're definitely looking to kind of improve on the integration and the product, very much into next year and beyond. And likewise globally, as we look to launch in New Zealand and UK and the likes, we'll have the relevant support teams, applicable and available when that's live.
Yeah, I know we've certainly got a couple on the call today from New Zealand. I think a few from the Northern Hemisphere, UK. That I don't know if they're joining at this hour, but I'm sure they're definitely waiting for the recording later on. So yeah, just to speak to that, perhaps It is coming to other markets. So just to clarify, it is currently only available for businesses that are domiciled in Australia, but UK and New Zealand are on our short-term roadmap. So looking to unlock that early next year for those regions, which is very exciting. Which is a lovely little segue into my next point around how it's easily operating in those multi-currency capabilities. So I think this is something that we're very excited to bring into the WorkflowMax roadmap. It is something that we're looking to release in 2025, hopefully in the earlier part. So, you know, that ability to, when you're sending invoices to your clients or quotes, jobs, etc., being able to choose what currency that you're actually running that project in. And that just ties in so nicely then to this Airwallex integration. You know, I'm based in Australia, but I've got some customers in New Zealand. I've got a mix of projects in my WorkflowMax account that are operating in AUD and NZD. And that seamlessly then just feeds into the payment links. I can send that invoice out to my customer in New Zealand, use the same print template in my WorkflowMax account. We'll get to that shortly in the demo. I don't have to worry then about sort of getting penalised with those conversion rates that you said earlier. I'll be able to hold it in the currency I want to, and that'll all be quite seamless. So yeah, very excited for that to come out next year. And the other thing that we're really excited about, and this ties quite nicely into, I think we alluded that this is just the first step, and there's a more considered roadmap that's coming down over time. And the next part of that is probably around the quoting workflows. So again, I think some of our customers might have heard about this, where, you know, we envisage having an electronic quote acceptance in the WorkflowMax product. So you send that quote out to a customer, they can accept it, they can choose, you know, what options they want, and that might change the price of the job or the project. But as part of that as well, being able to collect like a deposit upfront payment, or maybe even payment for the entire job as part of that quote process. So separate to the invoices that we're chatting about today, that's something that we'll be rolling out in 2025 also. And look, I might shamelessly just use this time to give a little plug. There is a product update webinar that you'll be seeing shortly coming out from the WorkflowMax team in about 2 weeks. So if you're interested in what's coming out next year, we will be spending some time chatting through our roadmap for 2025. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I promise that's it. No more plugs. We'll get back to the topic that we're here for with Airwallex, of course. Was there anything else you wanted to add here before we perhaps jump into the demo?
No, nothing. Other than just really emphasizing that, one that's not one value prop that's not clearly articulated, but kind of alluded to is really the constant improvement that we're looking to do on this integration, on this product, and on obviously on the WorkflowMax product. Tune into that product update in 2 weeks. Really, it's a testament to our commitment in building a product that is beyond the previous WorkflowMax product when it was still with Xero, and just kind of building on top of that and seeing what more added functionality that we can deliver to customers.
Yeah, definitely. And I think building an in-close consultation as well with the customers, those early adopters that are jumping on the integration, maybe this year before the year's out. I know we haven't got long, but there's still time. Getting your feedback real time, feeding that in. Obviously, we do have a lot of plans for where we want to take it, but getting that early input as well so that we can make sure that you're getting the most out of where it's heading in the long term also.
Yeah, spot on.
All right, so perhaps then we can jump into a demo.
Demo time, let's go.
Demo time, all righty. So this will look familiar, I think, for a lot of WorkflowMax customers, obviously laying on a dashboard. But yeah, today I think what we'll do is we'll just run through the setup process, show how simple it is. I think it's less than 10 clicks to set up that integration with Airwallex, which is really exciting, nice and simple. And then we'll show you how that can go out on an invoice, that payment link, processing the payment as well. And then I'll spend a bit of time chatting around the Xero integration side of things as well, because I think that's quite important to understand how 3 pieces of the puzzle, WorkflowMax, Airwallex and Xero, can potentially come together if you're using all 3. So in terms of the setup process, we're going to assume that you've already got a Airwallex account set up, but I think that process is quite straightforward, right? If you're not already an Airwallex customer, do you want to just quickly touch on what that looks like?
Yeah. So if you're not already an Airwallex customer, you can directly sign up via our website. But I'll say not yet, because right at the end of this right at the end of this demo, or this webinar is a real special offer that we're looking
Don't rush away.
For new potential customers to sign up and kind of get that reward there. But it's a simple flow and simple, very straightforward KYC process to kind of register your business onto Airwallex. One or two clicks, and then you just kind of provide your typical business information, and then you'll get turned around in 1 to 2 business days of an approved account.
And you're not going to drag me into a bank to actually go and get verified, right? It's all done online. I can do it from my couch or my office.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Fully online. Don't have to go in physically. It's all within our virtual portal. So super seamless, super quick.
Nice. All right. So let's assume then we've gone through that seamless process. We've got our Airwallex account. So we're going to go into our integration settings. You'll see this is now available if you're an Australian account. Obviously, if you're elsewhere, it might say coming soon. I'm going to toggle that integration on and go through the setup flow. So the first thing it's going to ask me to do is just connect to my Airwallex account, authorize that connection between the two products. So here it's just asking me which Airwallex account I want to use. A bit like WorkflowMax, I guess. You can have sort of different business entities set up on Airwallex as well and seamlessly jump between those different accounts or businesses. So yeah, if you are a bit of a larger operation, that's quite seamless as well. I know we've certainly benefited from that. And a couple of things here just to tick off. So just consenting to what information is going to be shared between the platforms. So WorkflowMax does need access to create those payment links. Airwallex wants the ability to accept those payments on behalf of the WorkflowMax customer, if you like. So I can tick off those and then allow that access. And once that's gone through, I'm going to be redirected back to WorkflowMax. And look, shamelessly, I love this part. Like, it's so simple. There's not a million options you need to choose between. Just a couple of things to get you started. So the first one there, the payment link behavior. So there's a couple of options here. I guess this just depends on how you typically deal with your customers as part of that project. Are you collecting multiple payments from them throughout the life of the project? Or are you just getting a one-time payment up front? So giving you the option there of both. If we go with that first option there, where we're collecting multiple payments throughout the project, essentially all that's going to do, it's going to refresh that payment link automatically. So let's say I've got a project, it's quoted for $1,000, customers paid a $200 deposit. It'll then go and refresh the payment link. So if they go back to that, it's now showing that we want to collect $800 from the customer, and so on and so forth until eventually the invoice is fully paid, at which point that payment link's deactivated as well, so that you can't risk, I guess, overpayments from the customer. The second one there relating to the payment link value, giving you a little bit of flexibility again in terms of what you're collecting from the customer. So whether you want to prescribe the amount that they're paying when they click on that link, or whether you want to give them the flexibility. So if I go with that fixed amount, when they go onto that link, it's going to be pre-populated and locked in that they put in their card details and they pay the $1,000 that was on the original quote and invoice. Whereas if I go with that variable amount, it will just allow them to choose. So, our terms of trade might be 25% deposit, for instance, but I'd rather issue 100% invoice up front. So then when they hit that payment screen, they can type in $250 and choose that that's the amount they're going to pay today. They can then, of course, come back again and pay a subsequent amount if they're sort of paying down that invoice balance in multiple payments. A couple of other little things that we need to set here. The first time we're going to use the integrations. The first, the currency. You can see we're already getting ahead of ourselves a little bit in terms of expansion, but you do have a couple of currencies you can choose from already now. I think most will probably be using AUD initially, but that's, whilst the integration is only available in Australia currently, you can still use it to collect payments in other currencies. So, you might want to say, we're trying this out just with our US customers. It's been a bit of a pain point that, our current processes, it forces us to settle it back to AUD. Then we've got to convert it back to USD to pay those bills. So just to clarify, you can use this to collect payments outside AUD at the moment. It is just Australian-based entities that have access to it. And then last one there, payment link expiry, fairly self-explanatory, hopefully. How long you want that payment link to be active before it's basically disabled. So you can align that with the invoice due date if you don't want them to be able to pay after that. Or we have an array of other sort of fixed options there as well. Cool. And then that's it in terms of the setup process. Click save.
Super quick, super easy.
Exactly. Imagine if I didn't spend all that time talking as well. Beautiful, and we can see it's switched on there, ready to go. So how do we actually use it as part of our day-to-day then? Let's go and create a new job. Eco Solutions, and let's call this, what are we going to call this? Coffee, let's stay on the coffee theme, shall we? Coffee cart setup. I'm just going to grab a template, that's okay. Set up this job, beautiful, okay. And let's say, we've sent out a quote already. We've agreed that there's a $500 deposit perhaps as part of this. So I'm going to go create that invoice. Now notice I'm not changing anything about the way I currently use WorkflowMax. So I think you touched on that earlier in terms of trying to keep you in the WorkflowMax products. You don't have to jump to Airwallex or to Xero to actually benefit from this integration. It all happens as part of just your regular process in WorkflowMax, which is really nice. Set up that deposit. Last chance to register. Well, I reckon you've probably missed out by this point, but there might be a few stragglers stopping in.
Cool.
I'm going to update that tax there as well. All right, so I've got my invoice set up. I'm going to approve that. Again, now nothing changing from what our WorkflowMax customers would be used to up until this point. Well, there's a bit of secrets of source that happen behind the scenes. So if we go and print that invoice, you'll see now I'm just using my standard default template here, but we've got a new option that's appeared because I've got my Airwallex integration set up. So it's toggled by default, that Airwallex online payment link. If we scroll down on the invoice, we can see we've got that payment advice section that we normally have there, but also then this online payment piece has been added in also. Now, I guess, again, this kind of speaks to the flexibility, all within a couple of clicks. If for whatever reason I don't want to offer that credit card payment or online payment link to my customer, we can switch that off really simply, regenerate, and it's not there. Easy as that. The other thing as well, there is a merge field available. So if you're using custom print templates in WorkflowMax, you can drop that word merge field in, Airwallex payment link, and then that'll populate it on the footer of your invoice there as well. And you can have a bit of fun. I've seen a few people already start put some logos in and that sort of thing, and click here to pay now. So yeah, you've got the flexibility there with both the default template and the custom template. And I think that speaks to that part in the value proposition we touched on earlier, right? You lose some control over how your invoice looks when it synchronizes to an accounting platform like Xero. There's some limitations in terms of how you can present that. I know a lot of customers love being able to tweak the nuances of their WorkflowMax invoice, have all their branding laid out the way they want to, but also control the detail, like being able to have that summary of timesheets a particular way that perhaps you can't synchronize to Xero in that manner. So bringing the payment link into the WorkflowMax invoice just means you can not have to compromise on some of those other business needs whilst having the payment link as well there. Cool. So we send this off to our customer, standard workflow there. They open it up and then they want to pay. So let's have a look at that, shall we? So click on this link here. It's going to open up in a new tab for me. Now you'll see here I've got the ability to enter in the amount I wanted. So that's what I made reference to earlier during the setup, whether we sort of prescribe what that is. So if I'd chosen the other setup option, this would be locked, it would just be $550, the value of the invoice. But here we're giving the customer the option. So let's say we're going to pay half, $250. We do collect a little bit of information around who's paying. They can even add a little message in if they want to. I'm just going to check those details and shortly it'll show me the payment options. Did you just want to touch on maybe the payment options and how there's a bit of flexibility there, I guess? I mean, spoiler alert, there's a few on screen that everyone's just seen.
Yeah, no, great question. And great point actually. So with Australia, what we'll do is and typically with our payment links product, we obviously let businesses pay by card. That's credit card, debit card, Amex,
Okay, yeah.
Google Pay, Apple Pay. But with Airwallex, probably another key value prop that we have on our payment gateway or our payment links product is really the breadth of local payment methods that we have on offer. And it's very much regional dependent as well. So, in Australia, typically you'll get credit debit card as the most dominant kind of payment method. But as we look to launch in other countries and whatnot, you'll notice that actually there are different payment methods outside of card that people typically like to use. And so you might see there, Alipay, for China, Hong Kong, or even GrabPay in Singapore. These are the local payment methods that we enable businesses, or we let businesses kind of toggle on if they so wish to offer that to their customers. But for Australia, and for the purpose of Australia, it will very much just be centered around cards, mainly being that one, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and whatnot, as kind of the most dominant and preferred methods of payment.
Yeah, awesome. And perhaps just to emphasize there, so you can control those payment options that are offered. We'll step into that in a little bit. I'll show you where you can do that in your Airwallex account as well. So don't be alarmed if you see those options there. You can just simplify it right down to card. Cool. So I'm going to plug in a demo card details here. Now, unfortunately, this ain't going to work for you in the real world, these cards. So good luck if you want to try and use that to get yourself a few Black Friday specials, maybe. But yeah, you can see it's really simple. Like I've just filled in my card details, clicked pay now, and already I've actually gotten a receipt from Airwallex as well, which is pretty nice. So let's jump back in then to WorkflowMax and see what's happened there. Because I think we touched on that in terms of that immediate sort of notification and being able to close the loop as one of the differences. So if we go back and we have a look at invoice number 14, scroll down the bottom there, we can now see that payment's actually already been recorded on the invoice in a few seconds, right? So, if you're a business that wants to wait for that deposit to be collected, that's now there. You can see it. You can start work. You're not waiting necessarily a day or two for, Karen to come back in and have to reconcile the books in the bank feed and then say, oh, we can now start that project. Like we can get started with it straight away. So just allowing to have a better, client experience and that sort of thing. I think we'll be looking to expand this as well, some custom notifications, prompts in product, that sort of thing that says, hey, payment's just been received on this particular invoice, just to surface that more readily as well. So keep an eye out for that. Cool. All right. Should we maybe just jump across, have a look at what happens in Airwallex behind the scenes?
Let's do it.
Now, just I guess call out, you saw then, I didn't actually go into Airwallex at all. So I don't have to leave WorkflowMax to use this and benefit from it. You can really just sort of set that up as the business owner, finance manager, whoever it is, empower your employees to send these invoices out and collect the payments. They don't need access to Airwallex necessarily. They might get some employee cards, something like that, but we'll park that for now. Nor do they need access to your accounting system anymore, potentially, to be able to send those invoices. So, you're not waiting for the invoice to be sent either if you don't want to share that access with them. So jumping into, sorry, not that one, this one, Airwallex. We'll jump down to the payments section, into payment links. And you can see here, we've just got a history basically of all the different payment links that have been set up through that integration. I can click into it, get a little bit more information if I need to, copy that link that actually is sent to the customer, see a log of perhaps the payment activities that have happened as well. But then we've also got this settings section. So you can see, do a little bit of customization, which is nice with your logo, that sort of thing. You can also set up the surcharge rates. Did you want to briefly just touch on that?
Yes. I mean, surcharge is really, if you want to pass on specific rates or specific added charges to your customers, and that's something that you can turn on with the surcharge rate.
Again, got that flexibility there, right?
Got that flex. It will be defaulted as off. So if you want to add that, make sure you do so and toggle this on. But yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, awesome. And then just to go back into, I think it's payment methods, right? We can see those options there. So we did touch on this a little bit earlier in terms of you having the ability to choose what payment options are displayed to your customers. This is a bit more of a global account, so you can see there's lots of different options there from different regions. But just to call out again that you can simplify it, just restrict that to the likes of credit card, Google Pay and Apple Pay potentially, or open up broader, depending on what regions you're in, what your typical customer looks like and what's beneficial to them.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some new payment options coming down the stream next year. Is that right?
Yeah. So definitely a bunch on the roadmap to really
Awesome.
expand not just our local payment methods, but what we do, for core payment methods, and that's including direct debit. With Pay2 early next year, as we roll that out, to really offer that to that added value to WorkflowMax customers.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so I think that sort of wraps up the demo. We might jump back into the slide deck, and I'll just chat through how the Xero integration piece works potentially. So you don't have to be integrated with Xero to use the Airwallex integration, just to be clear there. But obviously a lot of customers on WorkflowMax are. So what that typically looks like and how you sort of connect the three platforms up, because you can connect each of them to each other, and we want to make sure that that data flow is seamless, and it really is. So what happens initially is two things. When you approve that invoice in WorkflowMax, like we just saw, it's going to go and create that invoice in Xero, probably already used to that part of the puzzle, but then we'll also create that payment link in Airwallex. So we've got that link on the bottom of the PDF that we send to that customer. What happens after that? The payment's recorded, so that goes onto the footer of the invoice that we saw as well. When that comes back through, that's also going to sync to Xero. So we've got that existing Xero integration for WorkflowMax customers. Whenever you add a payment to a WorkflowMax invoice, it goes and adds it as an unreconciled payment to the Xero invoice. That's going to happen there as well. Then you're probably going to connect Airwallex to Xero via a bank feed. You've got that sort of live integration there. So you're going to see in your bank feed that payment imported from Airwallex into your Xero account. So at which point you've got that unreconciled bank payment receipt, and you've got that unreconciled invoice payment. So you can then do that matching activity between the two. Nice and simple, reconcile that transaction in Xero and job done. So yeah, hopefully that clarifies. I think there's been a few questions on that. There is a bit of documentation as well that is part of like our support resources and our setup guide that speaks to this. So definitely check that out as well if you want more information.
Yeah, spot on. I think definitely just to add to that, the setup integration guide with respect to WorkflowMax and Airwallex, it is a great resource to use to not just understand how to properly connect and set up your configs, but also when it comes to I think as Mac was showing before with the custom print templates and whatnot, which I know a lot of you guys would like to use. We outline on that guide there. So as a form of post webinar follow up, make sure to keep a lookout on that. But you can also see it as a button on the connections tab. For WorkflowMax
Integrations page. Awesome. All right. Well, maybe then we'll jump into some Q&A. Tracking pretty well on time, maybe a little bit ahead, if anything. All right. So what have we got here? Got a couple coming through. I might bounce this first one off you, perhaps. Is Airwallex free?
Yeah. So great question. And so I mean, Airwallex number one, we're a SaaS product now. So what that means is we have 3 plans. The lowest being $29 a month. Our Explore plan, which gives you access to sort of a bulk of Airwallex products and really the core of the Airwallex products that you might need. But and we'll get to this, I think, later, is we have a really special and exclusive offer with WorkflowMax, where we're doing a 6 months off of the Explore plan itself. I should caveat as well by saying that with the Explore plan, even though it is $29 a month, we have some place where if you have about $10,000 sitting in your Airwallex account anyway, and you use it as like an operational account, that fee is waived regardless. So kind of like that freemium model. We want to kind of let customers kind of try out the product to test it.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess like it essentially can replace your business bank account, right? You get those account details. People can pay into it if they want to. You've got the debit cards, as you said earlier. So if you choose to maybe depart from the bigger banks and move everything to Airwallex, then it's not too much of a milestone, I think, for most businesses to be able to jump over, and then it's effectively free per month. Which is awesome. Cool. What else have we got coming in here? Another question around expenses. So Melissa's asked, what is the roadmap for expenses so we can allocate costs back to the job and job profit in WorkflowMax, i.e. staff credit cards? Great question, Melissa. That is something we'll be sharing a little bit more detail on in that product update webinar that I mentioned in 2 weeks' time, mid-December. Keep an eye out for that. Famous plug. But no, look, we're very excited about that. I think sort of step one is the invoices that we're seeing today. Step two is sort of around the quote process and embedding Airwallex there. And then very logically from there, it's going to feed into the expense piece. So very excited to see that roll out. We will be able to share more on that in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, be some very exciting updates, I think, later next year.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Exactly. Cool. All right, another one here. Just wanting some clarity on the 10 BPS, I think you mentioned in the fees. Just maybe want to clarify that one.
Yeah. So just clarify that piece. For Australia, Airwallex's payment processing rates are 1.65%. For domestic transactions and then 3.4% for international transactions. Stripe, for example, would be 1.75% and 3.5% respectively. So 10 bips is equivalent to 0.10%. Yeah, 0.1%. Exactly right. And then accordingly, this would be adjusted to suit the relevant region as we look to launch for New Zealand and UK and whatnot.
Yeah, awesome. I can see, another question around that, just seeking timing clarity on the New Zealand UK rollout. Perhaps a straggler there that may have missed that. So yeah, we are looking to roll that out. We'll have more on details on that, but what we're working towards at the moment is Q1 next year. I think the nuts and bolts of the integration essentially is ready for those markets. It's just some compliance matters that we need to work through, and also then having the team from like a support and success manner set up and ready to go, as you said. We've obviously got the Airwallex team around the world. Likewise, we've got the WorkflowMax team in the sort of UK Ireland region and NZ as well. So just making sure that they're primed and ready to help you on board. But hopefully, not in the distant future there. Cool. What else have we got? Question here. So direct debit being available. So yeah, I think you mentioned that one. That's coming early next year.
Yeah, on the roadmap for Q1, Q1, Q2, roughly around there, with Pay2. And so that will give business the opportunity to leverage that instantaneous rail there.
And that's already available in some regions, I believe, isn't it? The direct debit. So sort of once we switch on, potentially like UK, for instance, there's already some direct debit options available there, I think.
Right.
So not necessarily waiting for them.
Yeah, great point. So for Australia, the roadmap is very much end of Q1, early Q2. But as Matt just touched upon, in the US and actually in UK, we have it via BEX and BAX, which is it's a mouthful, but again powered by some other providers there. But that's really available for businesses. Once we look to launch it outside of Australian entities.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Maybe one last one here. Okay, yeah, again, just sort of asking around maybe the change from Xero. So there is a slide on that, so perhaps have a look at that once the deck is shared. But yeah, if you are using those payment links currently, why you might want to change across, obviously sort of being able to send that invoice through the WorkflowMax template, so having more control over the brand and the detail. Obviously the pricing you've mentioned, and there's a little bit of an incentive there to save a bit of coin each month, which, hey, how can you argue with that? And then, empowering your employees, as we said, to do it all from within the one product, not necessarily having to leave WorkflowMax.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. All right, that looks like all the questions we've got, I think. Any last ones? Drop them in the chat now. Oh, one more, that's all right. Oh, Melissa's back again. Probably wait for the updates to start.
Which is to manage for international clients.
Australia costs. Okay, so Melissa's asked about GST and how that's being managed with international clients. I'm not sure, Melissa, sorry that I quite understand the question, but maybe we can speak to it a bit broadly. From WorkflowMax's perspective, on the sales side of things, invoicing from Australia to overseas regions. You choose what that tax rate is when you create the WorkflowMax invoice, exactly the same as you do now. On each line item, you can mark it as, BAS excluded, GST free, GST on income, whatever it may be. That doesn't change. You still are issuing that tax invoice document or invoice document with the applicable tax on it for compliance regions. So no changes there at this stage from our perspective. All right. Well, maybe then we'll flick into, I think you alluded to it earlier, to the offer.
No, very much thought we kind of end off in a bang. If for those on the call today, you want to really get started today, we have a really special exclusive and limited time offer just for WorkflowMax customers, where they can offer, we give 6 months free of our Explore plan if you sign up by June 30 next year. You can use the QR code to sign up and really get started with kind of that registration process with Airwallex. Super simple, super straightforward, and from a resource or help perspective, you can reach out to myself directly, or Liam, who is again with Airwallex and really helping with the go-to-market and really helping with the onboarding for customers and also getting them set up with this integration. So as a follow-up to this webinar, not only will we include links to like the setup guide, integration guide, we'll include links to the landing pages, but also to case studies and the relevant resources and material that you'll need with reference to this integrated partnership. So you have that handy to work off.
And last but not least, I guess as part of housekeeping, we will share the recording of the webinar today as well. So you will get that in your inbox in the next couple of days, along with those resources that we mentioned. So keep an eye out for that. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. I think it's it's very exciting. Obviously, it's been a year or so in the making, but it's hopefully the beginning of something very exciting. I think there's a lot of things there. I've obviously seen a bit of interest already in terms of what's to come. So let's see how quickly we can get to that as well.
I'm super excited. Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for joining this session today. Let us know again from a feedback perspective. I'm always keen to hear more, and definitely take advantage of that offer while it's still around.
Good time to jump in. Too easy. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. See ya.